Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Cheryl. How are you? Good morning, good morning. Dr. Cheryl, I'm sorry. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, friends. Come on and just type good morning so that I know that you're here. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Zakia. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Hey, KP. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Hey, soon to be Dr. Tawana, Dr. Okosawa, Dr. Yolanda, Grand Risings to the highest. Hey, Sister Levon, Reverend Jessica, Glency, Candace, Verzola. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Wayne. Good morning, good morning. Excuse my tardiness. A couple things going on this morning in the house. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. One being, my hair was doing interesting stuff, child, so I had to go on and throw on me a nice little cap. Amen and ashe. And then, I couldn't, well, just stuff was going on. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning to each of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, Dr. Walker Barnes. Beverly Miranda. Good morning, Miranda. We are glad to see your name here again. Good morning, Angela. Hey, Reverend Tiffany. Good morning. Hey, Dana. Good morning to see you. Good to see your name, Brother Mel Chris. Hello, Reverend Dahaji Wright. Good morning. Good morning, Iya Bahati. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Dr. Kyle Awuton. Good morning. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning to all of you. Yes, come on in the room. Come on in the room. Hey, Reverend Portia. Good morning. Hello, Constance. Hello, Reverend Rhonda. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to all of the Creator's children. It is good to see your names typed up here. You know the drill. I want to invite you to click like and share. Hey, Vanessa. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Linda. I want to invite you to click like and share as we move forward. And to our very own Deacon, Natasha Robinson Esquire. Good morning, Dr. Sonia Campbell and Antonia Ruth. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. You know what it is. Come on in the room. Welcome, 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 welcome. Doesn't it feel good just to be greeted in the morning? Hello, Donna. It is a reminder that you are still on this side of consciousness. Ashe, it feels good to say your names, and you know that we subscribe to the teaching that names emit energy, and that name, that energy assigned to your name at birth is tied to your both your individual and your collective calling. And so, when we are saying and reading one another's names, we are reconnecting, if you will, reattaching one with their sacred calling, with the work that they said, that they agreed that they would come to this side of consciousness to do. And so, good morning. I'm going to just keep saying your name, Dr. Lakeisha Lockhart Rush. Thank you for being present this morning. Dr. Eileen, Angel, almost Dr. Monique. Listen, Reverend Reggie, come on, people. Come on, just keep coming on in the room. I just feel like a little hand clap of praise right here as the folk gather, even in what might appear to be plain sight is cloaked, if you will, in this very black vernacular, cultural ways of knowing and being. And so in this digital hush harbor, we are reminded that we are flesh and that our flesh is good along with our spirit. Welcome, 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 welcome to my sister Erica, my sister Sora. Hey, morning Tyranny, good to see you. Good to see you all. If you've not already shared, please do share. Now listen, when I said that there were a couple things happening, I was going to move on, but I just got to pause, because the thing about these names, and divining the self, right? What we must remember. Hold on. Let me just get myself together. What we must remember when we are having conversations about divining. Good morning, Dr. Sakina. Listen, come on in the room, people. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. I had awakened and I was trying to get it together, trying to just get it together, and the oldest woke up and she said, well, I'm gonna go downstairs real quick and then I'll be back. And then I came downstairs and I didn't see her, but the door was unlocked and I'm like, my mind starts racing. What's going on? I go outside, she's not outside, I don't see her. I look in the backyard, I don't see her. So I could feel my my blood race, my heart racing just a little bit. I'm calling her, I go back up in the house, she's not in the house, and I'm like, hold on, what in the John Benet Ramsey is going on? Like, what, hold on. And I called her and her phone, she didn't pick up. And so I put my books and stuff down because I was getting ready to just go wake my husband up, wait a minute. And so she calls me back and she's walking down the hill and she says, oh, I'm outside. And I said, what you mean you outside? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing outside? She said, I just went to look at the sun over the mountain. So right at the top of our hill, it is a beautiful view. And so I was like, wait, what? You went to do what? She said, I went to look at the sun and the mountains, the view. I just needed to take it in. And so I stood there for a minute, y'all, and I was just kind of sort of I don't understand what's happening. This seems very odd to me. And what are you doing, right? And then I paused and I said, hold up. Her name is free, Ashe. You have named her. You have named her in a way that you have named her in a way that calls her to live into who she is, Ashe. And so she, was there taking in the view. She said she needed to ground herself. She needed to ground her energy, her spirit, herself, and she needed to take in the creation. And so Ashe the free, always teaching us how to be free. She continues to teach me how to be free, even when I attempt to put the locks, pull the reins up on her and shackle her down. Her spirit just refuses to be bound. And that is the spirit in which she was birthed, in which she was called to life. And that is what she has come. One of the things that she has come to do is to set the captives free. Good morning, Dr. Jamie. Good morning, Clara. Good morning. And so, yes, Ashe. So I just had to sort of redirect and get myself together as we are on part three of divining the self. We have been moving through Dr. Velma E. Love's book, really only one chapter. She has learned that we are moving through her text and has given us permission. She sent me a text thanking us for moving through her text, being really appreciative of us. And so I hope that if you don't already have this text, that you will support Dr. Velma Love's book, Dividing the Self, that you would get that and read beyond chapter 5. It is a very beautiful, beautiful offering. We started 2 weeks ago. The first reflection meditation was called Free. And the second one last week was Dividing the Self, part 1. And then this is Dividing the Self, part 2. Or is it part 3? Because it may be part 3 because the first week was called Free, but even though we were reading out of the divining of the self, we started. Thank you, Natasha. We started. You got your copy. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Thank you. 2 weeks ago, we started from this notion of free, and you will remember, it's always important for us to go back and give some context. Please, 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 please click like and share this right now. Go ahead and share, please. It was important. It's important for me to give the context of how we got here and how we got to this chapter 5 called The Powers of the Mothers. I was in a space where I needed a divine feminine. I was just really great, Barbara. I was just really, I was experiencing something that I couldn't quite name. I couldn't name totally, but part of what I was able to name was really the status of women in the world. I was watching the uprising in Afghanistan and, the takeover in Afghanistan. And I was really thinking about, come on, babe, you could come have a seat. And I was really thinking about what the women who have been birthed, within these 20 years, the girls, and like what it means for them now to have so many of their dreams squashed or squandered because this regime that is taking over, that is so detrimental to their livelihood and to their freedom. I was also struck and highly disappointed in the state of Texas in the passing of this extremely strict law preventing women from having free choice over their bodies. There were some other things that I learned that week around women, Black women in ministry, in ways that they were struggling and not being given access. And the parent of a co-parent of 2 girls, I was torn. And I woke up that morning saying, certainly, I know that God is a spirit, absolutely. But we live in a society that does, big seminary word coming here, anthropomorphize, that places human characteristics on God as a way to be able to relate to God, as a way to be able to understand God. And so we give these human characteristics because there is no real other way for us to, well, there are other ways for us to talk about God, but these are the ways that that society globally have talked about this being this deity. And most of those ways, those conversations are talking about God as God the Father. And so I struggled because I was like, I don't need the Father today. I just don't. I don't need. And while I have a blooming, beautiful, intimate relationship with the man who I identify as my father, I do not have a relationship with the person who is my biological father. It is a very estranged relationship. And so anytime that kind of father language gets used, then I automatically, I'm just talking to myself now, I automatically attach those negative characteristics that I attach to that other situation, to this God, and I'm not interested in that. Then I also got torn because I was like, and also what I don't need is, I don't need not only do I not need the white male God, I also don't need male Jesus coming in to male identified Jesus coming in to rescue, to save the day. Like, this is who my cares have to be on. You understand? I needed some sacred feminine. I needed some sacred feminine, some divine mothers. I needed a reconnection with that part, that beyond sort of the feminine identified wisdom literature and in the text that is known as the Bible. I couldn't, and so I had to go beyond, as Aubrey Hendricks would say, I had to go beyond Christianity, Ashe, and I had to engage sacred memory. I had to have a Sankofa moment, which led me back to Dr. Dr. Velma Love's work that I'm so familiar with, to start rereading, particularly chapter 5, The Powers of Our Mothers, as well as Dr. Teresa Washington's text, Our Mothers, Our Text, I believe it is. At any rate, you all, I just needed to give you how we got here. And so we started moving through this chapter as our sacred text, and we started to learn about our own ashe, our creative ability, our ability to call things into being, right? And paralleling that with this kind of action is not foreign, and it shouldn't be foreign to those who are Christian identified, especially those Paul lovers, right? Those who speak things that are not as though they are, those who acknowledge in James that there is life and death in the power of the tongue, right? That this is not unusual. This way that we have been socialized, though, to believe that we've been missionized and colonized, right, is the real word, to disbelieve or disavow anything that is connected with our indigeneity, with our Africanness, with our African diasporan ways of knowing and being, and then forced to live in this very compartmentalized life, a very compartmentalized way that does not make room for the eclectic, right? That does not make room for all of the divine complexities that we make up, that we exist, and does not ultimately make room for God to show up in different ways, in different views, in different cultures. There was a freeing, a liberation that my spirit was calling out for that would not be reckoned in the male figure that dies on the cross in Christianity. There was a way in which I didn't need this male figure to take on my alleged sins, but I needed the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, the powers of the mothers, the Iyami, to come and remind me that within me and that within my ability to connect, to attach myself, to reenact, to call on, to activate my sacred memory that I have, that we have, that the collective has, the power, hallelujah, the power to call things into being, that our ashe, that mystic force, that ability to speak things and have them happen. I needed something different. And my good girlfriend who I see on here, T. Renee say, yes, I remember. Big Mama passed on that power to me. Others of you began to say the names of those from whom you needed to retrieve that power from. So we understood that this particular power, at least as it is identified in the Yoruba religion of Ifa, which is known as the Aje, that the Ajay are one, that yes, they are spirit beings, and yes, it is a spiritual power, but most importantly for our purposes here, that it is a spiritually powerful woman, a spiritually empowered woman. And that Teresa Washington helps us to understand the way she uses the term. She refers to it as the furtive force of the great mother, also known as the Iyami, used to create life and ensure evolution. Y'all, I needed to evolve. I needed to evolve. And that's it, right? In divining the self, this text, and we know that divine means to discover, it is very true for those of us who, it is very true that limitations have been placed on our ability to evolve. That's why you have many of us Black preaching women right here on these live streams. We're here because limitations, let me just write this down for this article that I write. There have been limitations placed on our ability to evolve. If we are not evolving within the white supremacist led, misogynistic, classist, homophobic, Black church. Oh, wait a minute. I think there's somebody who said this week that there isn't even anything called a Black church. Shall by. But there is a way in which we have been stuck. I needed to evolve. Ashe. And so last week, then we picked up that whole conversation once we recognized that we had the ability to create and to destroy, that there is balance to everything, that as quick as I am able to call a thing out and have it happen, that I am also that creativity, that power within me, I have the ability to destroy. And there is no negative connotation, at least in the way we're talking about it, as to destroy, that we destroy what is not helpful. We destroy what no longer serves us. We destroy and burst down doors that attempt to lock us out. I say that happens. So we moved on. Let me idle down, y'all. We moved on. We paused on page 84, where Dr. Velma Love introduced us, and I'm walking us up to where we're going today. Again, I invite you to please click like and share. And this, this particular word it's for as Dr. Renita Weems would say. I miss her former blog, Something Within, so badly. If you miss something within, let's just shout her out and say we missed something within. But her tagline was that something within her blog was for thinking women of faith. So that this PRC is for thinking people of faith, right? It is not Sunday school, it is not, it does not cater to your emotions. It does not pander, but it makes you think. It is for thinking people of faith, folk who desire to evolve. Ashe. And so we ended with Dr. Velma introducing us to Louisa Tish and she provided with us these 9 works that women can engage to reclaim knowledge and power and bring about personal and social change. And we stopped on personal power, Ashe. We stopped on personal power. And then as we started to move in all that means, Dr. Love shared, she was explaining to us what Tish was speaking. She says, in this manner, Tish teaches women to recognize and utilize a form of feminine power based on and rooted in the human psyche. She introduced us then to the work of Patricia Hill Collins, whose scholarship focuses on knowledge, consciousness, and the politics of empowerment. In Collins's words, Black feminist thought aims to develop a theory that is emancipatory and reflective and which can aid African American women's struggle against oppression. In the strategy suggested by Tish, this struggle is on the level of individual consciousness. She urges women to accept the responsibility of transforming self and environment. Finally, she asked here, are you ready? Come, sister, she says, take this journey with me and share this responsibility with me. Are you willing to serve in the house of the mother? Listen. And that's where most of us got wrecked on last week, because the question was, are you willing to serve in the house of the mother? The mothers are calling us, but we too busy listening to the fathers, period, full stop. The mothers are calling, but we too busy listening to the fathers. Yeah. We too busy trying to get space in the house of the fathers. We too busy trying to move through the system that the fathers control. But the mothers are calling. Are you ready to serve in the house of the mothers? And then she explains to us, well, what does it mean to serve in the house of the mothers? To serve in the house of the mothers, we said this on last week. To serve in the house of the mothers, y'all remember, means to what? 1, cultivate one's intuitive faculties. That to serve in the house of the mothers, at least in the Yoruba tradition of Ifa, means to 1, cultivate one's intuitive faculties. That means that one has to lean into one's own gifts of knowing. One has to lean in and identify that absolutely I have the ability to generate and transmit knowledge. One has to lean into one's own ability. What's up, Rugsy? One has to lean into one's own own ability, the understanding to know that I am an epistemic site, that right here, that I am the starting point, that my lived experience is enough, that not only is it enough, that it is divine. My goodness, today. 2 was embracing one's power. And 3 was defining oneself, right? So those three character, the three meanings, the 3 ideations of what it means to serve in the house of the mothers. Again, 1 was to cultivate one's intuitive faculties. 2 was to embrace one's power. 3 was to define one's self. And that is where we pick up today. Ashe. We pick up today on this part 3 of discovering and divining the self. I implore you to please share, even those of you who are listening, but you're not participating in the chat, and that's fine. Margins have creative space as well. But I invite you to please share this wisdom. Share this wisdom. And so here we are on part 3. Where we are talking about these acceptable forms of knowledge transmission. My goodness, today. Ooh. Replenishing the Ashe, according to Love, who is reporting through Tish. Replenishing the Ashe, remember, the Ashe is that being, that mystical force that once spoken has the ability to make things happen, that we all, good morning, Dr. Johnson, good morning, E.I. Renee, that we all have the ability, that we all come with Ashe. There is no Christian counterpart, as there should not be, but the closest thing, if there is any, would be anointing, right? An ability to be able to walk with great power, to bring to pass what one is called to bring to pass. And she talks about that the way that you replenish this Ashe, that the prime reason for ritual is for the replenishing of our Ashe. So if I believe in ritualized cyberspace, which PRC is, then I would say that the prime reason for us gathering, good morning, Kendra, that the prime reason for us gathering every Sunday morning is so that our Ashe might be replenished. Yeah. You understand. And of the performative nature, now I'm going to read directly from it, and here we go. We're going right into it now. For those of you who have the book, I'm on page 85, of the performative nature of the practice and the power of the oral tradition, what we are doing now, passing knowledge from one to another, of the oral tradition, Aina Alomo writes, quote, the meanings of words exist in our hearts and are born from the passion of our spirit. When words pass from our lips, they create energy that is transformed into the ability to do the work. Woo! Woo, woo, woo! Dr. Monica Ashe, let's run this back right quick. Of the performative nature of the practice and the power of the oral tradition, Dr. Jamie Eady, Aina Alomo writes, quote, that the meanings of words exist in our hearts and are born from the passion of our spirit. When they pass from our lips, they create energy that is transformed into the ability to do the work, end quote. Alomo expresses concern about trends that seem to suggest that new world practitioners are beginning. If y'all could see what just happened to my computer as I'm talking about this, I wish you could see that to the left of me, my whole computer just went white. And now it's just idling. And I'm just trusting that y'all are still on. So I'm going to keep on talking. Let me tell you something. This is why I know that, Yeah, you know, oh, the digital space, digital technology. But baby, when digital technologies and spiritual technologies link, uh, yeah, you're not fixing to tell me. You are not fixing to tell me. I just want to go out of it and come back in and see if it even see what it lets me do. Oh, whoo, my goodness. My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Hold on, y'all. I just want to see. I want to see what's happening. The whole thing. Woo, goodness, today. Now I can't even find it. Do you hear what I say? I cannot even find it on my page. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. We hear is that yeah, can you see me though? Are you able to see me? I can see and hear you. I'll share Glency. I'm gonna keep going. It's not when I tell y'all it's not even coming up on my page. It's not even wow. 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 So there's going to be a lag then because I can no longer see my page to be able to respond directly. But I'm going to keep it moving. Woo! I'm just charged right now. I wish you can, something just happened in that exchange. Something just happened in that exchange. But let me just keep going. I want to read it again then. Of the performative nature of the practice and the power of the oral tradition, Aino Olomo writes that the meanings of words exist in our hearts and are born from the passion of our spirit. When they pass from our lips, when the words pass from our lips, they create energy that is transformed into the ability to do the work. Olomo expresses concerns though. Concerns, listen, Alomo expresses concern about trends that seem to suggest that new world practitioners are beginning to replace spiritual exploration, hear me, with memorized quotation. My goodness, today. Do you hear, There is a concern here because remember, he is saying that there is energy. Okay, I'm back. I see myself. That there is energy, Ashe, that there is energy that is connected. Y'all, this is, I'm going to just keep over here. That there is energy that is connected with our oral tradition. That there is a rhythm. That there is an intonation, Ashe. That there is an action that happens that when we just engage in this rote memorization, Ashe, that there is something that gets lost. He says in his own journey, or Aina says in my own journey, she says, excuse me, quote, I learned from powerful elders, listen, Levon, who have shared their vision, who have shared their wisdom with me. They never read books on Ifa, nor did they quote oracle to their fellow seekers like Western scriptures. The concern that Alomo expresses has to do with what is and is not an acceptable form of the transmission of knowledge. Her comment suggests that there is something in spiritual exploration that cannot be found in the printed word. She says that the meaning comes from the spirit in the heart, producing a transformative energy through the spoken word. Y'all, my God. Let me keep going. The sentiments expressed by Alomo are consistent with those of Bell Hooks, the well-known Black feminist scholar and cultural critic. Referring to her book, Sisters of the Yam, Hooks says it like let me slow down. Referring to her book, Sisters of the Yam, Hooks says it. I'm getting tongue-tied on that. Hooks says it like all of her writing, comes from places dark and deep within, secret, mysterious places where the ancestors dwell along with countless spirits and angels. She grew up learning that everything in life is a dwelling place for spirit. Hooks also saw that Black women worked with at least as much skill, power, and second sight as their Black male counterparts. In Sisters of the Yam, I'm about to drop something so ridiculous. Yes. In Sisters of the Yam, Hooks writes that when she left this environment for a predominantly white university, she took with her those ways of knowing and understanding reality. That when she left, she took with her those ways of knowing and understanding reality. So the issue that is before us right now is that many of us struggle with what these systems and institutions, whether it be the institution of family, whether it be a religious institution, whether it be an academic institution, whether it be a corporate institution, what we struggle with is whether or not we believe that our process of knowledge transmission, our ability to generate and transmit and receive is acceptable. We are struggling because many of us are being called to evolve, to lean into these intuitive faculties, but the box is too small. And so we are pressing up against all four sides of the box, if you will. And the spirit is on the other side trying to pull us through by sharing, by downloading with us regularly. But we are not trusting in that download. And the question that I've been hearing all week that goes with this, right? Starting with chapter, let me go all the way down. Hold on, because I got to find it for us. 1 second. What I kept hearing in response to this is in chapter 3, verse 11 of Genesis. Chapter 3, verse 11 in Genesis. I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to give us a minute. Now, I typically stay away from this area of the sacred text. Sometimes I don't always think that acceptable knowledge transmission. See how it's getting ready to come out? That, because there are things that I vehemently disagree with. And I'm like, well, maybe I just should stay away because I don't want to interpret it wrongly, so forth and so on. But when I'm thinking about this acceptable knowledge transmission, in chapter 3, verse 11, it says, God says to the creation, the human creation, who told you that you were naked? Who told you that you were naked? Listen, we don't have time to go back through this entire text, this whole Genesis thing. But let me say this. The way, as I've been reading the commentaries, the way that the serpent has been interpreted as evil or is equated with Satan gives me pause, because really here the serpent, if you will, is not telling a lie. The serpent here, there's a difference between deception and truth telling. The serpent in this text simply tells the truth to suggest that God knows. God knows what will happen. God knows that there is a reason, and somehow God is not sharing with you, but God knows, right? And we have interpreted that truth into a deceptive act, right? That ultimately here, that prior in chapter 2, hear me now, hear this metaphor, this metaphor that I'm getting ready to deal with, Reverend Kendra, that in chapter 2, we read how creation comes to be. And that in this creation, Ashe, let me get to these little notes here, that in this creation, that when they were created, the humanity was created, that there was no need for them to be clothed because there was no embarrassment about exposure. That the relationship that humanity engaged in between themselves and with God called for them to be fully exposed. That there was no shame in nakedness. That nakedness then becomes as a result of their desire to know. That as a result of that know, that they now become naked and are aware of their nakedness. Oh my. That maybe could it have been, and I don't know yet because I'm still trying to get to the root of this, this idea of why is God not wanting them to know? What is the big deal with them knowing the difference between good and evil? What is it about their ability to know that God, at least as I'm understanding it here, is attempting to protect them from? What is the whole point here? I get so lost and I get so confused. And then I start reading more and I'm saying, oh, okay. It appears possibly that what may be happening here is that what the deity, what Yahweh, what God, what the Spirit is attempting to do, right, is to hold up to pause momentarily on their responsibility, the responsibility that comes with knowing. Hey, my goodness, that there is a responsibility that comes with knowing. There is a responsibility that comes with knowledge transmission. That even in this idea that we have of paradise, that ultimately, according to the commentary that I'm reading, that paradise is not necessarily is not what we think of, right? That we think of paradise in these overly romantic ways. I'm gonna have to keep on because I know my time is short, but I'm gonna go over today, right? Because I can't leave us just hanging here. But that paradise, according to this commentary, emphasizes the basics, Kendra. Paradise then emphasizes life, freedom, food, a place to call home, a family, harmonious relationships, and a stable natural environment. Well, my goodness, those seem like the basic human rights to me. Could this be a precursor for what our human rights are? Oh my goodness, this. So that then when we continue to go forward on this idea of exposure, that the being is attempting to shield them from exposure. But there is, then we get into this language, and I'm going to tie back to this bell hooks text. But then we get to this language, of sin. And that's where we get tripped up here, because it never really uses the term sin. And if there was any, I'm not going to use sin. I'm going to say the responsibility, that the primal responsibility or the protection was this notion to become like God, to know, because there is responsibility to creating. So as a result of their desire, the temptation to know, which is always before us, that there was this resulting in 4 ways. That 1, that their eyes were open, and 2, that with eyes open, that they would see the world differently. 3, that they realized that now, having to decide for themselves what is in their own best interest, everything looks somewhat different. Having decided to be on their own, they see the world entirely through their own eyes. 4, they now operate totally out of their own resources. So what does it mean? The breakdown in human relationships, and the breakdown with the relationship with God is as a result of us having a responsibility in our knowledge generation and transmission, that this exposure, come on and help me, Spirit, that this exposure that we did not once have, right? This fear of exposure, right? That the responsibility of knowledge then exposes us in a way that now attaches this nakedness with shame. So let's walk it back. So it could possibly be that when Bell Hooks says, quote, that ways of knowing and that when Bell Hooks says in her book how she grew up learning that everything in life is a dwelling place for spirit, how she saw that Black women worked with at least as much skill, power, and second sight as their Black male counterparts, how she writes that when she left this environment for a predominantly white university, that she took with her those ways of knowing and understanding reality, that the problem is that many of us didn't take this with us. And if we did take it with us, somehow we have allowed it to be quieted. Somehow we have allowed it to be co-opted under the white male God and under the male Jesus. Come on in here, somebody, today. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Woo! Hook says, or the text says, who told you you were naked? Who told you that you were exposed or that your exposure was problematic? It's the interpreter, the one who interprets the text, the one who is affiliated with the dominant force and the power play, That's who told you. This statement implies that the ways of knowing and understanding reality were different from the ways of university. Those ways that Hooks took with her, that sustained her at the university and continue to fuel her work and life, are aspects, in this case, because of what we're reading, of the Orisha tradition and are performative in nature. She posits that the force of domination. Who told you? The force of domination, the forces of domination have wounded the hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits of Black people. You hear it? You heard it? You heard what you heard? The forces of domination have wounded the hearts, the minds, the bodies, and the spirits of Black people. A culture of domination undermines individuals' capacity to assert meaningful agency in their lives. It is necessarily a culture of addiction, since it socializes as many people as it can to believe that they cannot rely on themselves to meet even their basic human needs. So Dr. Love says, so Hooks issues a call for Black people and Black women in particular. See, Renee, that is so powerful. How the mothers of the church were always the ones associated with the wisdom of God. Even and mostly for the male pastor or preacher, his nakedness was always before her. Hey! Reverend T. Renee Crutcher, everybody. Reverend T. Renee Crutcher. A word. Ashe. 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 Yes, daughters of the dust, Kendra. So Hooks issues a call. I'm gonna just stay because I need to finish this. I know I'm at my hour point, but I need to finish this. So Hooks issues a call for Black people. Hooks issues a call for Black people and Black women in particular to engage in self-recovery as a liberative political practice, suggesting that, quote, listen, quote, choosing wellness is an act of political resistance, end quote. According to her prescription, knowing oneself and where one comes from is the first step to recovery, and it necessitates finding, quote, a space within and without, where one can sustain the will to be well and create affirmative habits of being. That is from page 14 in the Sisters of the Yam, in Bell Hooks' book, Sisters of the Yam. I am reading from Divining the Self from Velma Love. In discussing her awareness and the sensitivity to the psychological health of African American, Hooks refers to a passage in Toni Cade Bambara's novel, The Salt Eaters. Remember, we talked about this last week, but I'm going to read it again. The Salt Eaters, where the Black women ancestors come together to talk about healing the character who has attempted suicide. One of them poses the question, "What is wrong, old wife? What is happening to the daughters of the Yam? Seem like they just don't know how to draw up the powers from the deep like before." End quote. Inspired by this passage, Hooks organized a young woman support group, which she named Sisters of the Yam. She was shocked when Black female students came into her office to reveal that they were plagued by problems of low self-esteem, domestic violence, and fear of failure. The Sisters of the Yam support group became a safe space where students could reveal their psychological pain and seek healing in community. I'm going to just keep on going. Quote, "I also felt the yam was a life-sustaining symbol for our diasporic connection," Hooks writes. Quote, "Yams provide nourishment for the body as food, yet they are also used medicinally to heal the body." In further explaining how the group functioned, Hooks comments that the power of the group to transform each other's lives seemed to hinge on, listen, the power of the group to transform each other's lives seemed to hinge on each individual's desire for and commitment to wholeness. Woo, my God, today. She gives great credence to the power of an affirmative response to the question posed by the Black women healer in The Salt Eaters. Are you sure, sweetheart? Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? Only an affirmative response brings with it the power to transform and reinvent self. There's a part in one of the poems in Tazaki Shange's For Color Girls Who Consider Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. And it says, "I was missing something, a laying on of hands." And she goes all the way through the choreo poems speaking about what she was missing. And how this laying on of hands, this transferring of energy, if you will, is what is needed for her to actually complete this transformation, to complete this healing. And I want to close this morning by offering, this last part of divining of the self, of us discovering ourselves, that this is also what some of us are missing, that in our attempt to evolve, that we have gotten stuck, that even in our trip up, that now has become a kind of trap, if you will, a trap that silences us in ways that we are no longer able to tap into our sacred memory or even believe that we have a memory, Marvin Winans, but that we our evolution is tied to a system that first doesn't even honor our existence or our lived experiences, Ashe. And so we then, in order for us to choose to be well, remember, according to Hooks, that our choosing wellness is an act of political resistance. It is political warfare, that it is our stance and or our stand. But I want to just say, I want to encourage us on today, that even it is the Baptist preacher in me that must end here on this good news, that for those of us who have been attempting to evolve, that evolution is not an easy process, Dean Gidry, Ashe. That evolution is not an easy process, but that evolution is very painful. You remember we talked about this on last week, that when a seed goes into the ground, and when we watch those nature channels, where it speeds up the camera and it looks like the seed just bursts forth and the plant starts growing. Or that I imagine that when a caterpillar is spinning its cocoon, so that it can then hibernate, and even what it takes to break a shell. When a chicken, if you will, is breaking out the shell, what you're never going to tell me is that it's not painful. What you're never going to tell me is that it doesn't take work. But somehow we have glorified pain. Pain, at least in this Christian tradition, has been glorified in ways that problematically have people taking on pain as a way to suggest that this is the sacrifice that is called for in order for them to live in the way of Jesus. Friends, that's not it. You got it all wrong. But what it does suggest is that this particular pain is a part of the healing process. What are you saying, Melva? This week I came on live on Friday, actually. Only came on live for about 10 minutes and then I deleted it because I needed to just get it out of my spirit, but I didn't want it lingering around in the digital space. And I shared with you all, giving you thanks for those of you who've been praying for my dad and who have been standing with me and praying, and I told you that he has he experienced a traumatic brain injury back in the end of July, and as a result he has been having some serious trauma, pain. His pain levels are such that I've never seen him experience, so much so that they've brought this 6-foot-something man to tears, and I say that because it shouldn't be, alarming that, like, of course men cry, but when you have a figure in your being, when you're little and you're like, that's my daddy, Superman, right? Something happened when I could hear this being reduced to tears, and we were talked late into the night and early into the morning, and I would just speak to him and just sort of begin to talk because I didn't think that I had the words to pray. I didn't think that in this evolution, I was not honoring that my evolution in the way that I generate knowledge, transmit knowledge, may not be the same as it was when I was first introduced to Jesus Christ in Sunday school, Ashe. But that I was not recognizing that over the period of time and now in this year of Jubilee of these 50 years that I have amassed an understanding and appreciation for the sacred divine that comes in many forms, and particularly the sacred mothers. And I was unclear, y'all, how I was going to be able to pray. As a matter of fact, I didn't. Y'all don't hear me today. I didn't, because the prayers weren't coming out the way that I was used to them coming out. But all I could do was literally just talk with no excitement, to just talk. And I sat in the car on Friday morning, overwhelmed at what my dad was sharing with me, overwhelmed by the reports from his wife and the reports from my mother, overwhelmed with other things that I'm facing, that I'm standing in the midst of, overwhelmed with deadlines that have been looming, overwhelmed with trying to produce, particularly in a system, in a way that does not honor my knowledge transmission. Oh, you don't hear me today. Overwhelmed. I sat in the car and I simply positioned my hands in front of me, and I began to rub them until my palms got warm. And as my palms got warm, I placed them over my head. Some would say you put it over your ori, whatever you call the blessing, the spirit. And I touched myself. And before I even began to pray about or as a result of for my dad, I began to speak over myself, Tana. I began to call those things that that I thought were out of alignment, that were out of tune, those things that were preventing my evolution, my ability to evolve, I began to call them back into semblance, call them back into play, call them back into balance. Yes, I began to enact those powers of the sacred mothers. I remember that I have the ability to speak, I say, and to have those things that I speak come to pass. And so I just started speaking, y'all. I just started speaking, sis. I just started speaking. And as I started speaking, I could feel the presence of the African Holy Ghost well up. And as it welled up, it was familiar because I first encountered this in my Pentecostal days, which I still hold dear. I felt this tongue come up and I started to just use and pray in this tongue. Y'all don't hear me today. I started to almost chant in this tongue until I was tingling all over my body. But it wasn't sort of the Pentecostal sort of tingling, where I'm jumping up and I'm clapping. Nothing's wrong with that. But it was sort of a very calm, I know what I'm saying, even though I don't know these words. My spirit knows, right? And so as I'm sitting there, right, and I'm saying and I'm praying, I get a text from my dad. I get a text from my daddy who says, the doctor just called me and the doctor said that the pain that I'm experiencing is what I'm supposed to be experiencing because it is necessary for the healing process. He said that the doctor said that I won't properly heal without this sort of pain, that this pain goes along with the healing. First, y'all was like, I don't believe in all that suffering and all that pain. Jesus, we not get ready to do that. Not today, not today, not today. But then I paused and I said, well, wait a minute. You did have a traumatic brain injury. Just last week, they put you in an emergency procedure where they took an instrument, inserted it into your wrist, guided it up through your arm, guided it all the way through your neck and up into your brain. Yeah, where they drained first the blood, and then where they fused the blood vessels that were seeping blood back together again. And then they pulled the instrument down, took it back out your wrist. It would behoove us to know that you just can't go in somebody's brain and that they would not experience any pain. Melva Sampson, what are you saying today? I am saying, you all, that divining the self is not always an easy process, but divining the self is a necessary process. That in our evolution, we will experience some painful moments, but that pain lets us know that we are healing. That's it. That's the message. That pain lets us know that we are healing. The doctor told him, he said, ma'am, my pain level is beyond 10. He said, it feels like a Mack truck has run over my head. He says, I need to come in because I need a procedure immediately. Like, I need to have it happen right now. And she said, no, sir, you need to stay exactly where you are because we need to monitor the hematoma. If you come in too soon, then it's a likelihood that we won't get all that we need to get and that we'll only make the situation worse. But if we can just monitor you for another month, if we can just wait until the 13th of the next month, if we can see whether or not the treatment, whether or not the evolution is having a positive effect on you, then it might be that we don't need to do another follow-up surgery. But sir, I know it's painful. I know it's hard. I know it feels unbearable, but trust me, you're on the right path. Trust me, you are in the way. Trust me, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Trust me, you are in the spirit. So I told my daddy, y'all. I told my dad, I said, Dad, at 72 years old, I know that you never thought that you would be in this season of evolution. You didn't call for it. You didn't special order it. but yet here you are. And then the way that you come out on the other side of this is to accept the season. I didn't say, hear what I said to you. Hear what I said to him. I want to be clear. I didn't say to accept the diagnosis, to accept. I said to accept the season. Oh, Great Spirit, as we leave this place, but never far from your presence. Some of us have gathered here in this digital hush harbor because we hear the call to evolve. And we want to break free. We want to release ourselves from the shackles. And those shackles come in a myriad of forms, but those shackles represent metaphorically a type of nakedness. And that nakedness represents shame. And we have been exposed to the extremities of anti-Black racism, white supremacy, misogyny, homophobia, heterosexism, ableism, classism, militarism. And as a result of this exposure, we are struggling. We are numb. We are wounded. We are prisoners of war. But to the Iyami, the Sacred Empowered Mothers, I call on today to impart to us these powers, to ignite our sacred memory, that we would be able to withstand this season. Because at the end of this season, hallelujah, God, thank you, mothers. At the moment that healing has happened, the butterfly breaks free of the cocoon and the metamorphosis takes place. Hallelujah. That the knowledge that we seek is not always in a book, although we give thanks for the books that we have called forth today. The knowledge that we seek is in our lived experiences, both individually and collectively. So as we show up to do ritual, to replenish our ashe, to restore our sacred memory, to connect with the Most High in the various ways, the diverse ways that we can, we do so choosing to be well. Choosing to be well. It is our resistance. It is our act of resistance. As we continue to discover who we are May we have courage to withstand the reflection, to accept the season, and to know that it's all a part of the process. I said the season, not the situation. The season, not the disruption. The season. Help us to accept the season of truth-telling, and not to see truth-telling as a disruption, but to see this truth-telling as a necessary ingredient in our healing process. But sometimes the truth-telling brings with it pain. But fusing our cells back together, cells regenerating and body parts healing, is not a simple process. And so we lay all of this at the feet and trusting you, Great Spirit, Great One, as we continue this work in the name of every great mediary, in the name of this presence and power that is too vast, too deep to name, that our language in any variation, the human language in all of its diverse dialects, is not even enough to speak on what this being and entity is in that name. And in the name of those yet to come, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Thank you all so much. I invite you to sow with us. Amen. And Ashe, if this has been a blessing to you, I invite you to sow into Pink Robe Chronicles, which is a sowing into me. Amen. And Ashe, to our PayPal, which is Pink Robe Chronicles. You can also sow via Venmo at Melva-Sampson. I do not use Cash App. For those of you who often ask, I do not use Cash App, but Venmo and PayPal. And for those of you who use Zelle, you can Zelle. I'll put that right here in the chat. You can Zelle using the following email: mlsampson2013@gmail.com. mlsampson2013 @gmail.com. Ashe, Ashe. Someone just put it up once again. For those of you who would like to support this work, this ministry, Ashe, to give. That is a ministry in the same way we provide offerings in brick and mortar spaces. That, and for many of us, only continues to elevate our nakedness and expose us to things that are not helpful or productive for our evolution. Ashe, I invite you to do so in this space. Thank you so very, 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 very much. And until we see one another again, let us continue to hold each other up, continue to read, and maybe if there are enough of you, I can see if I can get Dr. Velma to, maybe come with us in a separate Zoom so that we can talk more about this. If there are those of you, let me also do this for you, because I acknowledge that some of you may have questions. So give me a second. I'm gonna just throw up this Zoom link right quick, and I'm going to open up. Give me 1 second. Let me switch accounts. And I'm just going to open up a space. For those of us to go. Amen. Was this not a blessing? I mean, listen, this was a pure, pure blessing. Hold on, friends. Excuse me. 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to open this up right here. My word, I'm just like really full, just full, just just 27. Okay, so I should do 9:30. Hold on for me. Okay, I'm gonna put this right here in this chat. All right, and I'm gonna start it right now. Ashe, y'all. So I'm ending this, and I am over here on the Zoom for those of you who are interested and just need to have more conversation. Love you all. See you soon. Peace.